What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Origins with me, TheOneIntegral. In today's episode we are going to be covering Vulpix and Ninetales, both the original forms and their new Alolan forms, looking at the designs and what's sort of inspired both forms. So stay tuned, and of course leave any other suggestions for future Pokemon down below in the comment section. So today we're going to be starting off with Vulpix. It's number 37 in the National Pokedex, being introduced in Kanto obviously, and its Japanese name is Rokon. It is the Fox Pokemon and a pure Fire type in its normal form, standing at 0.6 meters or 2 foot and weighing 9.9 kilograms or 21.8 pounds. Of course we can't forget the Alolan form of Vulpix, which of course is an Ice type and is exactly the same height and dimensions, not changing here, exactly the same sort of size. Moving back to normal Vulpix and taking a look at the models from Generation 6, you can see here shiny Vulpix is a nice golden colour. Basically it's your classic gold shiny, just give it a gold finish. And of course we don't know what the shiny for the Alolan Vulpix is yet, but some people are speculating that it could be a throwback to normal Vulpix, so being sort of orangey coloured, maybe even golden like the current one. Vulpix, or normal Vulpix, evolves into Ninetales with a Firestone. Now of course we don't know yet how Alolan Vulpix will evolve into Alolan Ninetales. There are, maybe it'll be levelling up near an ice rock like Glaceon is, maybe it'll be maybe a new evolution stone, or maybe it'll be a Firestone still. We don't really know that, but that is the evolution chain for Vulpix there. So, Vulpix is a small fox-like Pokemon, as I'm sure you could tell, and in its normal form it's browny red. It's got brown and red fur, as well as these orange tails, and it's also like its orange little hair, sort of fringe, I guess you can call it, on top of its head. It has a cream underside as well as darker red feet on its paws and such, paws of which have 3 little fingers on them. And it has 2 large pointed ears with sort of darker red insides or darker brown insides, and a small nose and mouth, nothing too much extra there, with sort of large brown pupilless eyes. They're just very empty and brown. I don't want to make it sound weird, but they are quite empty. Sorry to say, Vulpix. Then if we take a quick look at Alolan Vulpix and see what that looks like, instead of having this browny red fur, it's got white pure, almost pure white fur, and of course it's sort of its tails and its hair again is sort of a slightly darker colour. I don't want to say it's like grey or anything, it's just a slightly darker colour to what its normal body is. It's really a very, very small difference, but there is some difference there. Its feet, rather than being dark brown, are nice, like a blue whitey colour, and the insides of its ears as well as its nose and such are a dark blue, and its eyes to go with this are blue as well, having a sort of a nice light blue lower half and a darker blue upper half there. Then if we take a look at the Pokedex entries for Vulpix from Generation 1 to 6, we learn basically that it's actually born with a single white tail, so maybe that's where the Alolan Vulpix gets its white colouring from. Who knows? But this tail usually gains colour and then splits into 6 different ones. Vulpix, being a fire type, has a constant flame that burns inside its body, and it can sort of, it makes it pretty warm. So during the day sometimes it will have to release flames to keep a constant body temperature, and obviously it breathes fire like this. But it can also control these fireballs basically to use in battle as well as for other purposes, of course. Now what do we know about the Alolan Vulpix so far? Well, we learned that it actually moved to live on the snowy mountain peaks in the Alola region to stay away from other people basically, to be alone, and as a result eventually took on the sort of the pure ice form. So over the years just eventually adapted to its environment. Now Alolan Vulpix generally live in packs of 2 to 5 to help each other to survive, because obviously it must be a pretty harsh environment up there. I'm sure there's not a huge amount of friendly Pokemon, so they got to look out for each other. But Vulpix is pretty deadly in its Alolan form because it can freeze anything solid with its breath, which is minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 50 degrees Celsius, which is mighty cold, I will tell you that. Lowland Vulpix does not fare well in the heat, however, so I wouldn't like to see it go up against the normal Vulpix, but it can produce ice from its tail to help itself stay cool in the heat of battle or during a nice sunny day. So what is Vulpix based on? Well, it's based on a fox. Who would have guessed that? But in particular it's based on the legends of the Kitsune from Japan, which were basically many-tailed foxes that could breathe fire. Obviously they were legendary as well. They could breathe fire, they had loads of tails, so that's sort of the link in there. And eventually these Pokemon, these legends actually took on spirit forms, which might link into how Vulpix can learn loads of ghost type moves, because spirit forms, ghost type moves, Vulpix isn't a ghost type, neither is his evolution Ninetales, so maybe that's the link in there. What is a Lowland Vulpix based off of? Well, of course, it's still based on a fox because there's no massive change in its design, but in particular now it's based on an Arctic fox, with this nice sort of pure white colour to help it blend in with the snow. And of course, the species of fox, the Arctic fox, can live in very low temperatures, temperatures well past the temperatures that Alolan Vulpix can breathe, minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius and Fahrenheit, etc. So that's where sort of the link comes through there. Obviously, it still has some relation to the Kitsune from Japan though, but in particular an Arctic fox. What about the names? Well, the Japanese name for Vulpix is Rokon, which is a combination of Roku, meaning 6, i.e. 6 tails, and Kon, means grudge. Now this links into all the ghost type moves that Vulpix can learn, more than being grudge, but it also links in more to Ninetales, which we'll look at in a minute. But this name can also incorporate Kon, which is the noises that foxes make, Conro, which means gas stove, linking into the fire typing, as well as Ko, which is an alternate reading of Kitsune, so just linking in yet again there. The English name for Vulpix, i.e. Vulpix, is a combination of Vulpes, which is Latin for fox, and 6, so 6 fox, fox 6, etc. Looking at one other name here, one other language, we have Gupix, which is the French name for Vulpix, which is a combination of Goupil, which is an archaic word, i.e. an old word, which means fox, and of course 6 once again relating to the tails. Before we move on to look at Ninetales, taking a quick look at Vulpix's size, we can see it's a fairly small Pokemon. It's nothing huge, it's just basically down to Ash's knee. Pretty much the size of a normal fox in real life. There's nothing too special about it, and of course the Alolan Fox, being the same size, pretty much is exactly the same sort of dimensions and size and everything. There's not too much of a difference there. So if we then move on to take a look at the evolution of Vulpix, we have Ninetales. Ninetales comes right after Vulpix in the National Pokedex at number 38, and its Japanese name is Kyukon. It is also the fox Pokemon and a pure fire type still in its normal form. Ninetales, having evolved, now stands at 1.1 meters or 3 foot 7 inches and weighs 19.9 kilograms or 43.9 pounds. Of course, we also have the Alolan Ninetales to take a quick look at, which of course is an ice fairy type, but once again it is exactly the same size, no dimension changes there for the Alolan Ninetales. That is that. If we take a quick look at the models from Generation 6 for Ninetales though, you can see in its shiny form, it looks very similar to the actual Alolan Ninetales here, with it, sort of a more silvery, bluey colour than white, but it is pretty close to it, and of course we don't know what the shiny form for the Alolan Ninetales will look like yet, but maybe it'll be some form of orange or cream to fit in with the sort of the reverseness. Who knows? So Ninetales, what's it like? What do we know about it? Well, it's a golden coloured fox Pokemon. You can even say silver gold coloured, but I'd go for golden coloured. And it has now 9 long tails. Now, not just the short little ones that Vulpix had, it has now 9 long sweeping tails, which are each tipped with orange. It also has a nice fluffy mane, as well as a fluffy little crest on top of its head, moving on from Vulpix's hair. And it has these small pointed ears, as well as a small snout with a nice black nose on the end, as well as 2 pale red eyes going from brown now to red. That's the normal Ninetales, of course. We also have the Alolan Ninetales to take a quick look at, which is slightly different because it's now got snowy white fur rather than the sort of the golden, silver colour. But this fur is also more light and wavy than fluffy like Ninetales was. You can see all its tails and all its hair sort of just waving about in the wind, possibly the mountain winds, who knows. So it has this nice soft mane and the flowing crest of hair on the top. Instead of having sort of orange and reddy features, it has these blue eyes as well as a nose and blue insides to the ears, and the eyes are very similar to how Vulpix's were in the Alolan form as well. So what can we learn about the Ninetales from the Pokedex entries? Well, Ninetales can actually live for 1,000 years. That's a hell of a long time, and this is thanks to the energy from each of its tails. But be careful, because grabbing a tail can actually land a curse on you, which can be up to 1,000 years itself, so I'd say watch out. There are a couple of legends surrounding Ninetales. One of them says that Ninetales was made when 9 saints were reincarnated as it, I guess as one of each of its tails, but another legend also says that 9 powerful wizards merged into one to create Ninetales, so who knows what we're to believe. But what we do know is that each tail has apparently got a unique type of mystic power each, so it kind of makes it a bit more deep about what Ninetales is all about. But Ninetales can also cast a sinister light from its eyes to control a foe, i.e. mind control, which is a bit freaky, but Ninetales is obviously a very smart and vengeful Pokemon, but can also be vindictive. What do we know about the Alolan Ninetales? Well, it lives on a mountain in Alola that is revered as a holy mountain, and they're actually treated as sacred emissaries, with the sort of residents of the Alola region, thinking of them as sort of emissaries to a higher power. So people actually meet them with awe and fear. So which is a bit weird because we know Ninetales is quite a nice Pokemon, but Ninetales are actually extremely gentle, especially the Lowland Ninetales, and they're actually known to aid humans who need help. But if you threaten or damage its territory, it will show no mercy, and it will freeze you, I would assume. The Lowland Ninetales can actually produce ice crystals from its fur, and these can be used either defensively to protect against attacks, or offensively with balls of ice, so it can actually probably shatter a rock with, which is pretty damn scary. So I'd watch yourself around a Lowland Ninetales. Don't make it angry. So what is Ninetales based on? Well, we know it's based on a fox as well as the Kitsune, because they had many tails, they had long lifespans as well, linking to Ninetales living for 1,000 years, and they were fire breathing. But Ninetales in particular is based on the Kyubi no Kitsune, which were Kitsune with silver gold fur. So that makes a lot of sense because Ninetales looks exactly the same, and it was said that when these Kyubi no Kitsune actually gain their knife tail, they gain powers of a deity, powers equivalent to a deity. So that's like omnipotence, omniscience, so they were pretty powerful beings in Legends of Japan. So Ninetales is probably about the same. What do we know about the Alolan Ninetales? What's it based on? Well, like Vulpix, like the Alolan Vulpix, it's probably based on an Arctic fox because of the colouring and such, but it also has ties to the Kitsune, because when the Kitsune get their ninth tail and they change colour, they can become silver gold in their fur colour, but the other colour they become is white, linking in to this nice snowy white colour that the Alolan Ninetales is. So, if we take a quick look at the names for Ninetales, the Japanese name Kyonkon is a combination of Kyun, which means 9, and Kon, which means grudge, again linking into the ghost type moves you can learn, as well as the fact that it can lay a curse on you for 1,000 years. That's a pretty big grudge to hold. It can also come from obviously Konkon, the sounds that foxes make, Konro, the hot stove, as well as Ko, an alternative reading of Kitsune. But the actual full name of Ninetales, Kyukon, can also be read as Old Grudge. So again, linking into the grudge there, and the fact that it can be a very, very old Pokemon. What about the English name I hear you ask for Ninetales? Well, it's a combination of 9, obviously, as well as Tails. Now this Tails comes from both the physical tails, because obviously it's spelt differently, but you can merge this with fairy tales, because there are so many legends about Ninetales that we don't actually know which is true, which not, so there are a lot of tales about Ninetales, so it all links in together there. Also taking a look at one other name, again the French name, which is Funard, which is a combination of Fou, which means fire, and Renard, which means fox, so basically Firefox. Doesn't quite work for Alolan Ninetales, of course, because we moved far on from that, but of course the original form for Ninetales was of course fire. So before we finish up, we'll just take a quick look at what size Ninetales is. Sitting down, it's about, sitting down it will sit to 1.1 meters, and you can see it's actually a reasonably big fox. It's like getting, a biggest fox in the world. So sitting up, it comes up to about Ash's chest, and it's a similar sort of story for the Alolan Ninetales, because of course they are the same dimensions. So standing up, sitting up, it's pretty much the same height either way, because either its back of its body goes back or it goes down. Either way, it's the same height there, coming up to about Ash's chest. It's a big Pokemon, but nothing massive. So that is going to be it for this episode of Pokemon Origins, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video covering the first Alolan forms of Pokemon, Vulpix and Ninetales. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button, and of course, feel free to suggest some more Pokemon for you to cover in the future. Would you like to see Alolan Sandshrew and Sandslash? Let me know down below. But for now, this is going to be it for me for today. I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.